This pipe shouldn't have crude oil pooling in it.
As you can see, yes, that's live crude oil.
Hawk Dunlap is a 3-decade veteran of oil fields around the world.
This pipe is loose, it's free moving, which indicates there's no cement set in this well. The surface casing has corrosion holes in it.
And he's become one of the most vocal critics of the regulatory body that oversees oil and gas operations in Texas. It's called the Railroad Commission, or RRC.
So basically the Railroad Commission came out, plugged this well, taxpayer money, under the orphan well program, and this well is not plugged. This is the kind of job they're doing all over the state of Texas.
The RRC steps in to plug orphan wells when there is no solvent owner of record. Dunlap says there's an epidemic of low-quality jobs left behind by operators and contractors that were approved by the group. He and his lawyer partner have recorded over 100 legacy or orphan wells that have been listed as properly plugged, but that are leaking.
Halfway down that road.
This sprawling ranch in West Texas has 30 abandoned wells that have not been productive since the 1980s. This is one of those so-called zombie wells. Here's rancher Laura Briggs.
So this land, even though I pay property taxes on it and my animals utilize it, we have a leaking well in the middle of it that we have to put on hold until it leaks bad enough that we can get it plugged.
The longer you wait to plug a well like this, the more expensive it's going to be.
The Permian Basin is the largest oil field in the U.S., overlying Texas and New Mexico. It's home to the latest fracking-led drilling boom. Every day, new wells there accumulate about 24 million barrels of produced water, the salty mixture that comes up alongside oil and gas. That's according to a consultancy that says between 40 to 55% of that water goes into local disposal wells. Dunlap says pressure from that wastewater could be causing the badly plugged wells to burst. Days later at the Briggs Ranch, there's been an explosive blowout of produced water at a separate well, less than 1,000 feet from her house.
This truck is backing up. They call it a vacuum truck, and it's going to suck up what's coming out of that well because it can't stop what's coming out of the well. And then he's going to take it off and dump it into a saltwater disposal well, which is why these wells are leaking.
The RRC has pushed back on the assertion that wastewater pressure causing leaks or blows is widespread. A spokesperson said it prioritizes plugging, quote, high-risk, high-priority wells. The regulatory body has documented over 8,500 orphan wells in Texas, although experts estimate there could be thousands more that are not documented and ineligible for funding. The RRC has estimated it will need around $480 million to plug its wells. It plans to plug 2,000 of them this year with state funds. Federally, the RRC says it's used up a $25 million initial grant from a 2022 program and is tapping into a separate $80 million it got in January. A spokesperson told Reuters the agency is, quote, complying with federal requirements to measure the amount of methane and other gases leaking from plugged wells before and after plugging. Meanwhile, a Texas watchdog group has filed a federal complaint alleging mismanagement at the RRC. And the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency has said it will look at whether the RRC's permitting authority should be revoked. As for Dunlap, he says he'd like to take matters into his own hands. He's running a long-shot campaign to win an RRC seat and hopes to create change from within.
I spent 27 years roaming the earth and lauding the fact that Texas does it bigger and better than everybody else. So you have to understand that when we started excavating and we started investigating and trying to work with the regulators to let them know that that there was a problem here and that it needed to be addressed, and they turned a blind eye to it, it was quite a bit of a gut punch for me. I've always thought our state does things better, and obviously we're not.